So today we're going to dive deep right into the world of Amy Matthews.
Right.
And
So good.
she's not just an author, like a lot of people we cover.
Mm-hmm.
She's also a teacher and a researcher.
Oh, wow.
And a podcast host.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we're talking about someone who's really engaged with literature.
Yeah, multifaceted for sure.
Yeah.
Multifaceted.
In all these different ways.
Yeah, and we often see authors, obviously engaging with literature through writing their own books. But
Right.
she's kind of taking it a step further with her podcast, which is called Amy and.
Yeah, Amy and. It's like a book club, right? It's like a
It is, yeah.
book-focused podcast.
Yeah.
She brings on different guests. They talk about books.
Mm-hmm. Different
and
genres?
Different genres, author interviews, and they even have a live book club element to it.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I found really fascinating was, she's writing under all these different pen names.
Yes.
So it's not just Amy Matthews, right?
Right.
They've got Amy T. Matthews for literary fiction. We've got Amy Berry
Oh, okay.
for historical fiction.
All right.
And then we have Tesla Sue also for historical fiction.
Wow. So 3 different pen names. That's
3 different pen names.
interesting.
So and they all seem to focus on kind of different things.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you think about it from a branding perspective.
Oh, right.
Like Amy T. Matthews. That name might signal to readers a certain style or a certain tone that's associated with, literary fiction.
Okay.
Whereas you've got Amy Berry and Tesla Sue, both historical fiction, but, maybe they offer different flavors within that genre.
Right. So it's a way of kind of separating the work, like you were saying.
Exactly. Segmenting the audience, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's kind of like, how people have different interests and hobbies and they explore different facets of themselves. I guess this is kind of her way of exploring all these different sides of herself.
Yeah, exploring different creative avenues, for sure.
Yeah, as a writer.
I think it also speaks to a desire to maybe experiment with different writing styles, different voices. So it's not just about, branding and marketing. It's also about maybe challenging herself creatively.
Yeah, exploring those different sides.
Exactly.
Okay, so another interesting thing is that she's also a senior lecturer in creative writing.
Oh, wow.
At Flinders University.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so, she's not just writing, she's actually teaching writing.
Yeah, I mean, that suggests a really deep understanding of the craft of writing.
Yeah.
Not just from like a creative standpoint, but also from an analytical perspective, being able to teach it, break it down.
Right, and I wonder how that influences her own writing.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to inform how she approaches her own work.
Yeah, and in her podcast description, for Amy, and it mentions that her style is excessively academic.
Okay.
I wonder if you see that in her fiction as well.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
Are there like hidden layers of meaning?
Right, yeah.
Or symbolism that like a really astute reader could pick up on?
Definitely. It's like she's inviting us to engage with her work on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Not just on the surface.
And then to add another layer to that, her research focuses on...
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So colonial historical fiction.
Okay.
And she also looks at gender, race, and power in romance.
Oh, wow. So she's really looking at these complex themes.
Really complex themes.
Yeah.
And, like colonial history, it's often presented through a very romanticized lens.
Right, absolutely.
But her research seems to want to, like, deconstruct those romantic notions and really look at the power dynamics at play.
Yeah, and the perspectives of those who are impacted by colonialism.
Right.
Which are often overlooked.
Yeah, exactly.
In those kind of traditional romanticized narratives.
And then romance as a genre.
Yes.
Which is so often dismissed as frivolous or like, not worthy of serious study.
Right. It's seen as light entertainment.
Yeah.
But it actually offers such a fascinating window into societal norms and expectations,
Right.
And power dynamics as well.
Exactly. And I'm sure her research is looking at, how those power dynamics play out.
Absolutely, yeah.
In romantic relationships.
How gender roles are either reinforced or subverted.
Right.
And how race influences the stories that we tell.
Yeah.
And consume.
Yeah, so I guess it's like she's using these genres to kind of hold up a mirror to society.
Absolutely.
Make us question assumptions and look at things from different perspectives.
Yeah, it's like social commentary through fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if we connect all this back to her podcast, Amy,
Mm.
And it's like we get this glimpse into her mind.
Right.
And how she sees the world.
Yeah, her thought process, her passions.
Yeah.
The things that resonate with her.
And it gives us a deeper understanding
of
like how to approach literature.
It's like an invitation to see the world through her eyes.
Yeah.
You know, to read with a more critical and informed perspective.
So, okay, we've looked at Amy Matthews, the writer, the teacher, the researcher, the podcast host.
It's amazing how she does it all.
Yeah, and it's clear she's not just, creating stories. She's actually, participating in this conversation about literature.
Yeah, encouraging us to think deeper.
Yeah.
Look closer.
Yeah, and challenging us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so really interesting stuff.
I'd encourage anyone who's listening to check out her work.
Yeah.
Both her writing and her podcast. It's a unique perspective that she brings to the table.
Okay, so now a question for our listeners.
Right.
If you were to be a guest on Amy, what book would you choose to discuss?
Yeah.
And why? What themes would you want to unpack with her?
That's a great question.
Think about it.
Yeah, something to ponder.
Yeah.
As you explore the world of Amy Matthews.
Yeah, and all her different work. All right, that's it for today's Deep Dives.
Great stuff.
Until next time.